The hall was filled with noise, with buyers shouting prices and traders pushing slaves forward. Every cage was opened, every creature sold. Some were strong warriors, some were skilled workers, some were rare and exotic. The crowd was alive with greed and excitement as coins clinked and voices echoed. But in the darkest corner of the hall, there was one small cage still locked. Inside sat a thin alien girl, her clothes torn, her face pale. She did not raise her head when the auctioneer called her number. She had been here too long, ignored too many times. "Next," the auctioneer shouted, pulling at her arm. "Worthless. No one wants her. She has no strength, no skills. Sold for nothing before, and still nothing now." The crowd laughed, shaking their heads. "Throw her out," one man said. "She's weak, useless," another jeered. "Better to leave her to die," someone in the back shouted, and the crowd laughed again. The girl closed her eyes, her heart heavy. She had heard these words all her life. Worthless, weak, nothing. Even her own people had given her away. She waited for the moment they would drag her out and leave her in the dirt. But then, the room fell strangely quiet. A voice spoke, calm and deep. "I'll take her." Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was a human man standing at the edge of the hall. His clothes were plain, his expression steady. He looked directly at the girl, not with greed, not with disgust, but with something no one else in that room carried. The auctioneer blinked. You want her? For what? She's worth less than the food you eat." The man did not argue. He simply placed a single coin on the table. The crowd erupted with laughter. "A human buying trash? Is he mad? She'll bring him nothing but misery." The auctioneer shrugged. "Fine, she's yours. Take the worthless thing and go." The man walked slowly to the cage. The girl lifted her eyes for the first time, confused. No one had ever looked at her like this. His gaze was steady, not cruel, not mocking. For a moment, she felt like a person, not a thing. The cage door creaked open. She did not move. She feared a trick, another humiliation. The man knelt and offered his hand. "Come," he said softly. "You don't belong in a cage." Her body trembled. The laughter of the crowd echoed around her, sharp like knives. She wanted to run, to vanish, but something in the man's voice pulled at her. Slowly, carefully, she placed her fragile hand in his. The hall fell silent again. The sight was strange, almost unreal, a human leading away a creature everyone else had thrown aside. The buyers stared, whispering among themselves. Some shook their heads in disbelief, others spat on the floor. As they walked out, one man shouted after them, "You wasted your coin, human! She's nothing, nothing!" The girl flinched at the words, but the man did not turn back. His hand was steady, his steps firm. Outside, the air was cold and fresh. She breathed it in like it was the first breath of her life. For the first time, she wondered, could it be true? Could someone see her as more than worthless? She glanced at the man walking beside her. His face was calm, unreadable, but there was no cruelty there. Only silence, only patience. And in that silence, a seed of hope began to grow inside her heart. The girl walked beside the human man, her steps small and uncertain. She kept looking back, half expecting someone to drag her away. The auction hall grew smaller in the distance, but the echoes of laughter still rang in her ears. She whispered in a low voice, "Why? Why did you take me?" The man did not answer right away. His eyes were fixed on the dirt road ahead. Finally, he said, "Because no one should be left in a cage." The words sounded simple, but to her, they were heavy, almost impossible to believe. She had always been told she was worthless, that her life had no value, but this stranger had given a coin for her, and now he gave her freedom. The walk was long. Dust rose with every step, and the sun was setting behind the hills. The girl's legs trembled with weakness. She had not eaten properly in days. She stumbled once, almost falling, but the man caught her arm before she hit the ground. "Careful," he said. His voice was calm, without anger. He helped her stand again and continued walking. They reached a small wooden house at the edge of a wide field. It was not grand, but it felt safe. The girl hesitated at the door. She had never been invited into a home before. "Go in," the man said, opening the door for her. The air inside was warm, filled with the smell of food. Her stomach twisted in hunger. On the table sat a loaf of bread, some fruit, and a pot of stew. She stared at it with wide eyes, her throat dry. "Sit," he told her. She obeyed, still unsure if this was real. He placed a bowl in front of her and filled it with stew. She lifted the spoon with shaking hands and tasted it. Warmth spread through her body. For the first time in years, she felt alive. Tears stung her eyes. She quickly looked down, hiding her face. No one had ever fed her like this, not without expecting something in return. The man sat across from her, eating quietly. He did not stare at her. He did not mock her. He simply let her eat. After a while, she whispered, "You don't want to use me?" He raised an eyebrow. "Use you? No, I bought your freedom, not your chains." She froze, spoon halfway to her mouth. She wanted to believe him, but the words felt too heavy, too strange. Could a human truly mean that? Later that night, she sat near the small fire in the corner of the house. The man gave her a blanket. She pulled it close, the warmth sinking into her bones. Still, her heart was not calm. She had learned to distrust kindness. She feared that in the morning, everything would change, that he would show his true reason for taking her. But when she dared to glance at him, she found him sitting at a table, fixing an old tool with quiet focus. His hands were strong, steady, but his eyes carried no cruelty. Outside, the wind howled across the empty fields. She shivered, clutching the blanket tighter. For the first time in her life, she did not feel like a slave. Yet inside her, another voice whispered, "Why? Why me?" That question burned brighter than the fire. Suspense grew in her heart. She wanted to know the truth, but she was afraid of the answer. The human man had made his choice. But what was the price of that choice? The night was quiet, but not peaceful. The girl lay on the floor near the fire, her thin blanket wrapped tightly around her. Every creak of the house, every whisper of wind outside made her tense. She had spent too many nights in cages, too many nights hearing footsteps of those who wished her harm. She opened her eyes and saw the human still awake, sitting near the window. He was holding a small lantern, watching the fields outside. His posture was calm, but his hand rested on an old rifle leaning against the wall. Something about his silence made her uneasy. Was he protecting her, or waiting for her to make a mistake? Her heart raced when she thought she saw movement beyond the window, dark figures slipping through the tall grass. She blinked hard, unsure if her tired eyes were lying to her. But then the man stood, slow and deliberate, and lifted the rifle. "Stay low," he said softly. Her stomach turned to ice. She crawled closer to the fire, clutching the blanket. She had seen raiders before, violent men who preyed on the weak. Were they here for food, or for her? The door rattled suddenly, the sound sharp and violent in the quiet night. Her body froze. Memories of cages, chains, and cruel laughter flooded her mind. She wanted to scream, but no sound left her lips. The man moved quickly, securing the door with a heavy bar. Then he whispered, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Those words struck her like lightning. Don't be afraid. No one had ever said that to her. The raiders outside shouted, their voices drunken and mocking. "Open up, human. We saw what you brought from the auction. Hand over the worthless alien." Her chest tightened, shame burning inside her. They were here because of her. If the man gave her away, they would leave him alone. That was what always happened. People chose safety over her. She was not worth fighting for. But the man did not open the church door. He shouted back, firm and clear, "She is not yours. Leave now." The raiders laughed. A rock slammed against the wall. Another strike shook the wooden door. She covered her ears, trembling. Any moment now they would break through. Then came the sharp crack of the man's rifle. The sound ripped through the night. Silence followed, broken only by footsteps running back into the fields. The raiders were gone. The girl sat frozen, her heart hammering. She could hardly believe what had just happened. Someone had stood for her. Someone had risked himself for her. The man returned to the fire, setting the rifle against the wall again. He did not look proud or angry. He simply sat down, as if protecting her had been the most natural thing in the world. She stared at him, her lips trembling. Why didn't you give me to them?" He looked at her then, his eyes calm. "Because you are mine to protect now, and you are not worthless." Her throat tightened. She wanted to deny it, wanted to argue that she had no value. But the memory of the raiders running away, the echo of his words wrapped around her like a second blanket. That night, for the first time, she did not fall asleep in fear. She fell asleep watching the firelight dance on his face, wondering if maybe, just maybe, this human had seen something in her that she had never seen in herself. And in the silence of the small wooden house, trust began to take root. Morning light spilled into the small wooden house. The fire had burned out, and the air smelled of smoke and bread. The girl woke slowly, her eyes blinking against the soft glow. For a moment she forgot where she was, and fear clutched her chest. Then she saw him, the human, already awake, working quietly outside the window. He was repairing a fence, his strong hands moving with calm skill. He worked without hurry, without complaint. She watched him for a long time, confused. Why did he treat her like this? Why did he not chain her, mock her, or sell her again? When he returned, carrying a basket of fruit, she stood quickly, unsure if she should help or step aside. He placed the basket on the table and glanced at her. "You should eat," he said. She nodded, sitting down slowly. Her fingers trembled as she lifted a piece of fruit. The silence between them felt heavy, but not cruel. It was the kind of silence she was not used to, peaceful, almost gentle. After a long pause, she whispered, Do you want to know why no one wanted me?" The man looked at her, his expression steady. "Only if you want to tell me." Her lips trembled. She had never told anyone before, but something inside her needed to speak, even if her voice shook. "I was born wrong," she said softly. "My people are strong, proud, fighters. But me, I was weak. Too weak even to carry a weapon. My father gave me away when I was little. Said I was a shame to the family. Said I was worthless." The words tasted bitter in her mouth, but once spoken, they would not stop. "I was passed from master to master. No one kept me long. I couldn't work fast enough, couldn't fight, couldn't sing like others. Finally, I was sold for nothing. A coin. Just one coin." Her hands tightened around the fruit until juice spilled between her fingers. Tears blurred her vision. She quickly wiped them away, ashamed. The hum, Anne's voice broke the silence. "That does not make you worthless." She looked up sharply, her heart pounding. No one had ever said those words to her, not once. He continued, his tone calm but firm. "Worth is not only in strength, not in work, not in coins. Sometimes worth is hidden, waiting for someone to see it." Her throat ached. She wanted to believe him, but doubt clawed inside her. "Then why did they all throw me away?" His eyes softened, but his answer was steady. "Because they were blind. Sometimes people are too foolish to see value, even when it's right in front of them." Her breath caught in her chest. She had no reply. She looked away, staring at the wooden floor. A strange warmth filled her chest, fighting against years of cold despair. But before she could speak again, a sound echoed from the distance. Hooves striking the dirt heavy and fast. Her body stiffened, fear rushing back. She ran to the window and saw dust rising on the horizon. Riders. The human set his jaw and reached for his rifle. "Stay inside," he said, his voice firm. Her heart pounded. Were they coming for her? Had her past found her again? As the riders grew closer, she felt the old shame return, whispering that she would bring him nothing but trouble. But another voice, faint but growing stronger, whispered something new. He said, "I am not worthless. He said I have value." And for the first time, she wanted to believe it. The riders came closer, their shadows stretching long across the dusty fields. The girl's hands shook as she gripped the window frame. Her chest felt heavy. She knew this kind of men. Raiders, hunters, people who smelled weakness and lived off fear. The human checked his rifle, calm but sharp. His eyes scanned the horizon. "Stay behind me," he said without looking at her. Her throat was dry. They're here for me," she whispered. Shame and terror twisted inside her. If only she had not come here, this danger would not be at his door. The riders slowed near the fence, dust rising around them. Their leader, a tall man with a scar running down his cheek, grinned cruelly. "Human!" he shouted. "We heard you took something worthless from the auction. Hand her over. Save yourself the trouble." The girl's legs weakened. She almost stepped forward, ready to surrender, but the human raised his rifle. His voice was firm and steady. "She's under my roof now. She's not yours." Laughter broke out among the riders. The leader sneered. "You protect trash? For what? She can't fight, can't serve, can't even stand tall. You waste your time. Better to give her back before you regret it." The man didn't move. His silence was louder than any insult. The raiders grew restless. One threw a rock at the fence, another spat on the ground. The leader leaned forward on his horse, eyes gleaming. "Last chance, human. Give her to us or we'll burn your home to the ground." The girl's chest tightened. Fear screamed inside her. She wanted to cry out, to beg him to let her go. Why is he risking this for me? But his stance did not falter. Then, without warning, one raider charged forward, swinging a chain. The human fired. The crack of the rifle split the air, the rider's weapon falling to the ground as his horse veered away. The others roared in anger, drawing blades and rushing forward. The girl gasped, stumbling back, her mind filled with terror, chains, fire, screams. It was happening again, but the man's voice cut through her fear. "Get inside, now!" She obeyed, running to the door, but she could not stop herself from looking back. He stood tall in front of the fence, rifle in his hands, facing men far stronger and more ruthless than him, and yet, he did not look afraid. Gunshots cracked, shouts filled the air, and smoke began to rise. The girl pressed herself against the doorframe, her heart racing. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, but another thought burned stronger. He is fighting because of me. One rider broke past the fence, heading straight toward the house. The girl's body froze. She grabbed a broken piece of wood from the corner, her hands trembling, ready to defend herself though she had never fought in her life. But before the raider reached her, the human appeared, slamming him down with the butt of his rifle. Dust and blood scattered across the ground. He looked at her for a moment, his face calm but sharp. "You're safe," he said. The fight dragged on until the riders, realizing they could not break him, finally pulled back. Their leader spat on the ground. "You'll regret this, human. Protecting her will cost you everything." Then they turned and rode away, leaving the field littered with broken weapons and silence. The girl fell to her knees, shaking. Her breath came fast, her chest aching with both fear and awe. He walked back to her, wiping dust from his hands. "They'll come again," she whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "Then I'll be ready," he replied. In that moment, she felt something strange, something terrifying but also warm. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen to fight for her, not against her. And in her heart, she began to wonder if maybe she was worth protecting after all. The field smelled of smoke and gunpowder. Broken weapons lay scattered in the dirt, and the fence leaned from the weight of the fight. The girl stood in the doorway, her knees weak, staring at the man who had driven away the raiders. He was breathing hard, sweat on his forehead, but his eyes were calm. "They'll come again," she whispered. Her voice was thin, almost lost in the wind. The man gave a small nod. "Yes, but next time, we'll be ready." "We." The word struck her. No one had ever included her in anything before. She had always been a burden, an extra weight people wanted to throw away. But he spoke as if she belonged at his side. That night, she could not sleep. She sat near the fire, her hands gripping the blanket, her mind replaying the fight. The man had fought without hesitation, but she had only hidden. Shame burned inside her. She was the reason he was in danger. And yet, she remembered the way her hands had tightened around the wooden stick when the raider came close. She had been ready to fight even if she would have lost. A thought flickered inside her. Maybe I am not as weak as they always said. The next morning, while the man repaired the fence again, she walked into the field and picked up a fallen weapon, a bent sword, its edge chipped. It felt heavy in her hands. Her arms shook as she lifted it, but she forced herself to stand straight. The man watched her from a distance, silent. Finally, he walked closer. "What are you doing?" Her lips trembled, but she did not look away. "I don't want to hide anymore. I want to fight too." He studied her face for a long time, then took the sword from her hands. For a moment she thought he would laugh, or tell her she was foolish. Instead, he placed the sword back into her grip. "Then you'll learn," he said simply. Her heart skipped a beat. He did not see her as worthless. He saw her as someone who could grow. For days he showed her small things, how to stand, how to hold her balance, how to use her size to move quickly instead of forcing strength she did not have. At first she stumbled and fell, her arms ached, her legs trembled, but the man never raised his voice, never mocked her. When she fell, he only said, "Again." And slowly, something changed. Her body remembered movements she did not know it had. Reflexes hidden deep within her blood began to awaken. Once, when he swung a stick to test her, her arm moved on its own, blocking faster than either of them expected. The strike rang out, sharp and strong. She froze, eyes wide. The man gave a rare, small smile. "There it is," he said. "A strength that was always inside you." Her chest tightened. She wanted to cry, but instead she gripped the weapon tighter. For the first time, she felt a spark of power inside her, not borrowed, not given, her own. That night, as the moon rose over the fields, the raiders returned. Their torches burned like angry stars, their laughter filling the night air. The girl's heart pounded, but she did not run. She stood beside the man at the fence, her sword shaking in her hand. The leader sneered. "Still protecting the useless one? You'll die for nothing, human." But when they charged, the girl moved. Fear roared inside her, but so did the new strength. Her sword flashed, blocking a strike, then another. The man fought at her side, but this time she was not just a burden hiding behind him. And when the raiders finally fell back, retreating into the night once more, the man looked at her and nodded. "You fought well." She stood shaking, breathless but alive, and for the first time in her life she believed him. The next morning the sun rose over the broken fields, lighting the scars left by the fight. Burned grass, shattered weapons, and bloodstains marked the ground, but for the first time the girl did not look at the battlefield with only fear. She looked at it with pride. She had stood with him. She had fought. Her arms still ached from the weight of the sword, and her body trembled with exhaustion. Yet inside her there was a fire she had never felt before. It was small, but it was real. The human man was already at work, repairing the fence again. His movements were steady, his face calm. She walked toward him, unsure what to say. Finally, she whispered, "Thank you for letting me fight." He looked up at her briefly, then returned to his work. "You fought because you chose to, not because I let you." Her breath caught. Those words warmed her chest. All her life, others had told her what she could or could not do, but he spoke as if her choice mattered. Later that day, she helped him gather wood from the nearby trees. At first, she stumbled with the heavy logs, but he showed her how to carry them balanced across her shoulders. She tried again and again until she managed to walk without falling. As they worked, she found herself stealing glances at him. His face was rough from the sun, his hands scarred from years of labor, but his eyes were steady, kind in a quiet way. She did not know why, but being near him made the weight in her chest lighter. That night, as they sat by the fire, the girl laughed, an awkward, sudden sound that startled even her. She quickly covered her mouth, ashamed. The man raised an eyebrow. "What's funny?" She shook her head, her face red. "Nothing, I don't remember the last time I laughed." For a moment his lips curved just a little, not quite a smile, but close. "Then laugh more," he said. The words stayed with her long afas. The fire dimmed. Days turned into weeks. Together, they repaired the farm, hunted small animals for food, and trained in secret when no one was watching. Villagers from the nearby town sometimes passed by, whispering, "Why is he keeping that alien? She's worthless. He'll regret it." The girl heard their voices, their cruel words, but this time they did not cut as deeply, because when she looked at the man beside her, she saw no mockery in his eyes, only patience. One evening, as the sky burned orange with sunset, she asked him quietly, "Why do you not care what they say?" He fixed the last piece of wood on the fence, then wiped his hands. "Because their words don't matter. What matters is what I see." Her heart pounded. "And what do you see?" He paused, looking at her, his gaze steady and calm. "I see someone stronger than she believes." Her chest ached, her throat tight with emotions she could not name. She turned away, blinking back tears. For years, she had been told she was nothing. Now, with just a few words, he had given her something more valuable than gold: hope. That night, she sat awake long after he slept, staring at the stars through the window. She realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. She was no longer alone. The bond between them was not built with chains or orders. It was built with trust, and trust, she discovered, was stronger than any cage. The days passed quietly. The girl learned to carry water from the well, to plant seeds in the soil, and even to mend torn clothes. Life was simple, but it was steady. Each morning she woke with fear, but each night she slept with a little more peace. But peace never lasted long. One afternoon, as the human man repaired the roof, a shadow fell across the field. A caravan of riders approached from the road. Their armor gleamed in the sun, banners whipping in the wind. The girl froze, her breath catching in her throat. She knew those colors. She knew that crest. Her master. Her body turned cold. Memories slammed into her. The harsh whip, the mocking voice, the nights of hunger. She whispered, trembling, "He found me." The human climbed down from the roof, rifle slung over his shoulder. He studied the riders calmly, though his jaw tightened. "Stay inside," he told her. But she could not move. Her legs felt like stone. She knew what her master wanted. He would not let her go, not because she was valuable, but because she was his property. His pride could not accept that she had been taken by someone else, especially a human. The riders stopped at the fence. Their leader, the master himself, dismounted. His clothes were rich, his eyes sharp with cruelty. When he saw the girl, his lips twisted into a cold smile. "There you are," he said. His voice was smooth, but it cut like a knife. "I wondered who was foolish enough to take you." His eyes slid to the human. A human farmer? How pathetic. The girl shrank back, gripping the doorframe. Her heart screamed for her to hide, to vanish. "Return her," the master commanded. "She is mine. She was sold to me, and I alone decide her fate." The human's voice was calm but firm. "Not anymore. She belongs to no one." The master's laughter echoed across the field. "No one? She has always belonged to someone. She is weak, useless, and broken. Without chains, she is nothing." He stepped closer, his gaze full of poison. "Give her back or I will burn this place to the ground." The girl trembled. She wanted to cry out, to beg the human to let her go. She could not let him be destroyed because of her. But when she looked at the man beside her, she saw no fear, no doubt, only a steady resolve. "She is not yours," the human said, "and she never was." The master's smile vanished. His eyes darkened with rage. He snapped his fingers and his men stepped forward, weapons drawn. The air filled with tension, heavy and sharp. The girl's knees gave out. She fell to the ground, clutching the dirt. Her mind screamed, "I cannot face him. I am still weak. I will only bring him ruin." But then she remembered the nights of training, the way her body had moved with hidden reflexes, the fire that had sparked inside her. She remembered the human's words, "You are not worthless." Her chest tightened. She could not let the past chain her again. The human raised his rifle. The master's men gripped their blades. The standoff stretched in silence until the master hissed, "So be it. If you protect her, you share her fate." The girl's fear burned into something else, anger. Not at the human, not at herself, but at the master who had stolen her life. For the first time, she felt the strength of her own will. And as the sun set over the field, she rose slowly to her feet, her hands clenched. Her past had returned, but she was no longer the same helpless girl he had left behind. The field was silent for a heartbeat, the air heavy with tension. The master's men stood ready, blades glinting in the dying sunlight. Behind them, the master smirked, certain of victory. The human stood tall at the fence, rifle firm in his hands. Beside him, the girl clenched her fists, her heart pounding so loud she could hardly hear. The master sneered, "Step aside, human. This is your last warning." The human did not move. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." The words struck the girl like thunder. He was willing to stand against them all for her. Something deep inside her broke free. The fear, the shame, the years of chains. They turned into fire. The master's hand flicked through the air. Kill him and drag her back. The raiders charged. Dust rose, blades flashed, and shouts filled the sky. The human fired, dropping the first man before he could swing. But more came, rushing like a wave. The girl grabbed the bent sword she had practiced with, her hands shaking but her eyes steady. She had no choice. If she hid, he would die. And if he died, she would be chained again forever. A raider swung at her. She ducked, her body moving faster than her thoughts. The blade missed her by inches. She countered with a desperate strike, the sword ringing against his weapon. Pain jolted her arms, but she did not let go. The man fought beside her, his rifle cracking, then swinging it like a club when it emptied. He moved with precision, but she saw blood on his arm, his strength faltering. "Behind you," she cried, and for the first time she moved not in fear, but to protect. She struck down a raider rushing at his back, her sword scraping across his armor. The man turned, finishing the job with a hard blow. The master watched, his smirk fading into fury. "Useless thing," he snarled at her. "You think fighting makes you worth something? You're still nothing." His words stabbed into her chest, but she did not collapse this time. She raised her sword, breathing hard, and shouted back, "I am not nothing." Her voice echoed louder than she expected, stronger than she had ever believed it could be. For a moment, even the raiders hesitated. The human's lips curved in the faintest smile, though blood dripped from a cut on his brow. "Told you," he said quietly to her. "There's strength in you." The master, enraged, drew his own blade and stormed forward. He moved with practiced skill, every strike filled with hatred. The girl struggled to block his blows, her arms shaking under the weight of his fury. She stumbled back, nearly falling, but the human stepped in, deflecting the master's strike with the butt of his broken rifle. Together they fought as one, his strength and precision guiding her raw courage and hidden reflexes. She blocked, he struck. He guarded, she countered. Step by step, they pushed the master back. The master roared, slashing wildly. "You cannot win. She belongs to me." But the girl's eyes blazed with fire. "I belong to no one," she screamed, and with all her strength she struck his blade aside. The human seized the moment, driving the master to the ground. The raiders, seeing their leader fall, scattered into the night, their courage broken. Silence returned, heavy and unreal. The girl stood trembling, her sword slick with sweat, her chest heaving. She could not believe what had just happened. The master, the man who had haunted her life, lay defeated at her feet. The human placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "It's over," he said softly. She looked at him, tears burning her eyes. No chains, no cage, no master, only freedom, and she had taken part in winning it. For the first time she felt not worthless, not weak, but alive. The battlefield was quiet. The dust was still in the air, and the last echoes of shouting faded into the night. The master's body lay on the ground, defeated, his men gone like shadows. For the first time in years, the girl was not running, not hiding, not chained. She dropped the bent sword, her arms trembling, her chest heaved with every breath. Her knees wanted to give way, but she forced herself to stand tall. She turned slowly, her eyes searching for the human. He was there, sitting on the broken fence, blood on his arm and a cut across his brow. His rifle lay beside him, cracked from the fight. Yet his eyes were steady, watching her, not as a prisoner, not as a burden, but as someone who had stood with him. She took a step forward, her throat tight. I fought, she whispered, almost disbelieving her own words. He gave a small nod. "Yes, you did." Her lips trembled. "I thought I would only bring you trouble. I thought I was worthless." His gaze held hers, calm but firm. "You were never worthless. They only made you believe it." The words struck deep into her heart, breaking the last chains of shame that had bound her for so long. Tears filled her eyes. She sank to her knees in the dirt, unable to hold them back anymore. "Why?" she asked through her tears. "Why did you save me? Why fight for me when no one else would?" The man was quiet for a moment. The fire from the torches flickered across his face, making his eyes glow like steel. Then he spoke softly. "Because I saw you, not what they called you, not what they wanted you to be. I saw you." The girl covered her mouth, sobbing. No one had ever said those words to her. All her life she had been an object, a price tag, a shame. Now, at last, someone saw her as a person. She crawled closer, clutching his sleeve, her tears wetting the fabric. "I don't know how to live free," she whispered. "I don't know what I am without chains." He looked down at her, then placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "Then start here. Start now. You don't need to know everything at once. Freedom is not given, it's lived, one choice at a time." Her heart swelled with emotions too heavy to name. Fear, hope, relief, and something else. Something warm and terrifying, a bond stronger than any chain. The stars shone overhead, clear and endless. The girl lifted her eyes to the sky. For the first time, she dared to dream of a life not bound to pain. Maybe she could plant seeds in the soil and see them grow. Maybe she could laugh again by the fire. Maybe she could belong. She looked back at the man, her voice soft but steady. "Then I choose to stay." His eyes softened, and he gave the smallest nod. "Then stay." The night carried a new silence, one not of fear, but of peace. The field, though scarred, felt like sacred ground. It was the place where a worthless slave had become someone worth fighting for. As the firelight faded and the stars grew brighter, the girl wrapped the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Her body was bruised, her arms weak, but her spirit felt lighter than ever before. For the first time in her life, she was not owned. She was not a burden. She was not worthless. She was free. And in the calm strength of the human who had chosen her, she finally understood the truth. Her worth had been there all along. She had only needed someone to remind her